Yeah, who's got the collection of all the all the Atari Jaguar games, the the console that killed Atari and stuff like that. I think about that a lot too. It's like how much of that was actually dumped onto a file somewhere online or something like that, or is in somebody's collection, they don't know about it, or it's like in some, some grandma's garage, like they were, holding on for their kids, and that kids never came and picked up their old console or old games or whatever, and it's the only remaining copy is in somebody's garage somewhere randomly or something like that.
Hello, welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm Lion.
I'm Old Man Raptor, and we have a new guest, and that would be...
I am Reth Sogen,
Oh, thank you very
gamer.
much.
I don't know what to call myself.
Gamer, Vrchat enthusiast extraordinaire.
Oh yeah, I'm an enthusiast. Let's put it that way. I'm very enthused about this game in many ways.
So is it one of those things where boy found a girl and here you are happily ever after? Blah, words. Words are hard.
No, it's more of a virus found a pool to infect, and then I got VR in January of 2020, and damn, can't seem to get this thing off my head anymore. It just stays on, it seems.
Oh, pretty much.
Hey, at least he didn't say that he found a girlfriend, and this is where she stuck him.
No, I did this to myself.
Even better.
I did
Works
this to
too.
myself. Yeah.
So you started during COVID then.
Hmm. Yeah, I had a friend bring his Vive over to my house over Christmas of 2019, and we were playing Boneworks like right after it had come out, and I was like, holy shit, VR is insane, and this is like a original Vive, so it's got serious screen door effects, stuff like that, the old school wands, and I know plenty of people still use them, good on them for keeping that tech alive, but yeah, I ended up buying my own headset like 3 months after that. Got it
Cool.
for my birthday, I guess. So I didn't buy it, but and ended up using that a ton. And like a year later, I got an index and
Ah.
got into FBT and stuff like that. And yeah, I've been meeting friends on here for like 3 years now, though.
Oh,
Like
wow.
I've met and kept really solid relationships with a lot of the people I met on here.
Mm.
So yeah, it just kind of became a thing I did more regularly as I had time. I was unemployed for most of 2020, so
Ah.
yeah, I had a lot of time. Nothing
As
but time.
as everybody did. COVID was a wild time.
Yeah, yeah.
In some of our earlier videos, if you've ever had a chance to watch any of it, we were talking with some like DJs and stuff, and they were saying during COVID, the club scene had such a huge boom of people just mysteriously appear out of nowhere, and I think that's been thriving
Yeah,
since.
yeah. Yeah, I had gotten into the DJ scene a little bit. I never DJ'd myself, but I always ended up at clubs, because I'd be up until, I live in Pacific time zone, so I'd be up until like 6 or 7 in the morning sometimes.
Damn.
Because I had friends in Japan, like I wanted to learn Japanese a bit too, just by like immersion, just listening, speaking, that sort of stuff. I
Yeah.
can't read Japanese for shit. Like, never tell me to read something in Japanese because I can't. But
Cool.
like speaking and reading, I like picked up from this game and from anime too.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a weeb. Oh well. But yeah, like
Ah,
I have
well,
a
I
lot
think we
of
all are.
yeah, exactly. I think if we're in here, I don't think we have much choice at this point. You're kind of locked in.
I think most players of VRChat, there's like a 99% chance you're a weeb, and there's no other exceptions. Weeb or furry or both.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
They don't fall down.
there's so much
Oh, that's a
crossover.
weeble
Yeah,
wobble. Never mind, that's my time. Sorry. I understand how
yeah.
the facts go.
Oh. Yeah, sorry to interrupt you.
I don't lag out. Yeah, keep going. Sorry, my bad.
That's all
Oh, you're
good.
good. Yeah, I understand. Get comfy. Yeah,
Okay. Sorry, folks. You keep shooting the shit. I gotta drain the main vein before I explode. Old age
Word.
sucks.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah, there was there was a time where I was going to clubs a lot, so I got to know a lot of people in the club scene. Whether I remember them or not, you know how this game goes, right? Where
Yep.
you meet somebody a couple times, maybe you kind of forget their username or how you met them, and then like they show up a year later, like, "Hey, how have you been, man?" It's like, who are you? You know? So I had a lot of people on my friends list like that, and then I got very interested in the club scene and like live events in this game. So I ended up popping up at stuff that was like more open mic and things like that, like Midnight Munchies. That's like a big one.
Hmm.
I used to go to a lot more frequently than I do now. I still enjoy going there, and I still do go there. Have a lot of friends there. Met a lot of people there.
Hmm.
But yeah, and then after a while, I started hanging out in some other circles. You know, a lot of creator circles like Anticrust Manor and some other places like that, like the virtual reality show. I'd kind of go in there here and there and say hi to some people, and you know, get to know a few people from that community as well.
Ah.
But yeah, I ended up kind of floating between a lot of communities and gaining like a big network of people that I know.
Hmm.
And yeah, now I'm working on some other projects too with some people I met on
Oh,
this game, and I'm really excited to like, yeah, see how that
cool.
goes. But yeah,
So,
yeah.
what are your thoughts on VRChat? 3 years later now? Can't believe it's been 3 years.
Shit. I mean, so much changed. You know, the look of the whole UI completely changed
Oh yeah.
in that time. You know, the usernames, all the UI elements, all that shit changed. The culture of the game changed quite a bit too. I think you got
Hmm.
a lot more people getting into FBT, having these kind of experiences with full body tracking, getting
Yep.
maybe too immersed, one might argue. But
Hmm.
you know, a lot of people picking up phantom sense and shit like that. That's what really started happening. And I started like understanding what that actually meant more recently to have
Oh
phantom
really?
sense. So I started experiencing just a smidge of it from time to time, you know, where
Hmm.
like, you know, I'd get shot in like a VR shooter, like a headshot or something. I'd be like, oh, what the, you know, my head would shoot back like what is this psychosomatic response going on right now? What is this shit?
Hmm.
But yeah.
I had a similar experience with Phantom Sense. Before coming to here, I had nothing of the sort. I could hit rides like a champ. Come in a VR chat, and like someone boops my nose. Like, wait, why the fuck am I sneezing now? What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. It is
Well,
a,
yeah, I'd have like people like, hugging me or like cuddling next to me or some shit, and I'd be like, I'm feeling warmth. That's not just the room being hot as shit from my PC. Like, I'm feeling warmth on my arm. What the fuck is going on? Like, so I had to, think about like those impacts and like how people interact with each other's avatars in this game. Like, really started to change once that came along and like came into more of like the consciousness of the group consciousness of this game of like
yeah,
people experience this now, so you can't be like going around punching people or doing other worse things to people's avatars and things
yeah,
like that. And not that I was doing them, but I witnessed a lot of that shit, and a lot of people would be like, yo, I got phantom sense, I felt all that, and I'd be like, what does it
mm,
mean that what does it mean by that,
mm,
But now I'm getting a better understanding of that, and like it's cool, it's a weird thing our brain does, and I don't
yeah.
know, it's cool to experience that in the virtual way.
It is the brain is a wild thing, especially with how quickly it can adapt to something you put it in like VR. Kind of makes you think over
Oh
time what
yeah.
other weird senses the brain will develop over time. Another thing that also blows my mind with that is how quickly your brain can register what you see in VR as a memory. Like you could have entire memories
Oh
entirely
yeah.
of VR, like nothing of what's outside the
Yeah.
plastic.
Yeah. And it was really cool to start having dreams where I was in VR.
Really?
Like I started having pretty significant dreams where I was like, holy shit, I am inside of VR in this dream. And it's really weird. Like I had some really funny dreams a couple times. Like uh one of them was like this is a dream, this is not real.
Mm.
Uh I was in this world within the dream version of VRChat, and we went like downstairs in this corridor, me and this other person. I have no idea if they were a dream NPC or representative of somebody in my life.
Mm.
but we went downstairs in this dream and we went to this sort of like video screen mirror sort of thing. And in this dream, we open a random video call and it was almost like Omegle.
Hmm.
And so the people on the video call were like these random prisoners, like in this cell, just talking to VR chat avatars and like pointing and laughing at us because they're like, "Holy shit, why are you anime?" and stuff like that.
Cool.
And I remember that being just one of the strangest dreams I had, and that was all because I spent so much damn time in VR.
Yeah.
Like it started reflecting into my dreams and stuff, and I was like, "Damn, this shit's really powerful."
It is really powerful. I can only imagine, like, one of the things that I think about in terms of like the really powerful is like there are kids who spend so much time in here over the years that they pretty much grew up here. There's a kid our friend group
Yeah.
adopted basically, and he's been in VR chat since he was 6. He's 13 now. He's been in here since like
That's
the
insane.
very beginning. He seems relatively normal, like a normal kid, but he's grew up here pretty much. Weirdest thing.
That's wild.
Hmm.
That's wild that he had access to that tech as young as that age too.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if that's weird.
It is. It is weird,
Yeah.
but it's one of the many things we got to think about as we expand on this tech and stuff. Is kids having access
Yeah,
to this
yeah.
stuff? What will happen with that? With that over time? What kind of effects will it have on a person?
Yeah.
Although, basically,
Yeah.
a dream with like the cross of real life too. Did you know like there's a thing I know of two worlds. There's there's a virality gateway where people in the real life virality and here can actually see each other. Like you can cross see each other.
Oh,
through
really?
it. Yeah. And then there's a European
Ah.
club also that has events in VR chat as well as events in real life, and they have like a media player that you could the goers of the real life and VR chat clubs respectively can see each other, and like cameras and TV screens.
That's awesome.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd love to experience something like that at some point. I think it'd be really cool to cross over between the two.
Mm.
At least in a space where people are expecting that to happen. I know. I've seen like compilations of people in Zoom calls or something like that where somebody will jump in and they got like their VRC camera recording them in an avatar and they're like talking to the rest of their class and everyone's like, "Why are you doing that, man?" Like it was like frowned upon by them, but I think by other VR chat users would be like, "Oh yeah, shit, that's a normal Tuesday for me or whatever," right? Like it's a very interesting thing with our community, I guess.
I've seen a few of those where people will see some VR chat avatar moving about and like in full body and it looks real and they're like, "What?" It is quite
Yeah.
it is an interesting thing. Oh, trackers.
Yep. That's gonna happen to me too. I'm sure of it. My hip tracker's gonna fail at any time. I'm sure it'll fly up here. But yeah, it's interesting. Like you get like a Chris Quits reality or something like that. There's a lot of people's like introduction to that whole kind of FBT level of VR chat and just VR in general. They're like, "How do I get into this?" It's like, "Well, buddy, you got $3,000. Like, you can make it happen if you got $3,000. Like, if you want to go right in."
Well, the funny thing is like
Yeah.
in the last 3 years I've been in VR chat, I've seen a lot of people like had an experience like that in Omegle or seen a YouTube video. They get a Quest or they play PC.
Yeah.
6 months later, they're scrounging and desperately trying to get money to get an Index or some other big PC thing in full body.
Yeah.
I've seen people strap Wii remote, old school Wii
Yep.
things to their feet.
Yeah, I mean, I know with Slime VR and other like IK, I guess it was IK tracking or IMU tracking with
Yeah.
like Slime, that sort of stuff. I know people are strapping like their old cell phones to themselves to get FBT working,
Yep.
and it works. It doesn't work amazingly. It's not as good as base station track stuff, but like there's a solution for that now. Whereas a few years ago there wasn't. Or there was stuff where it was more experimental, like with Kinect and stuff like that. And I remember seeing people with Kinect doing full body. I'm like, "How are you doing that? And why are you going like this at all times? Like, are you like, are you just like a person that moves a lot, you fidget a lot, or it's like, no, the Kinect is doing that. It's like tracking your skeleton all at one time. It's really weird.
Mm. It is really weird. I've seen some people do some really cool things for tracking. Like, as I said before, strapping Wii remotes to their feet. Similar thing is with Slime VR. I see people build their own trackers from scratch just to make it happen. It's like, I want to see if I
Yeah.
could do it. And they got some weird motherboard self-built thing.
Yeah,
It's wild.
yeah. Yeah, it's so crazy. You know, we were talking about like Phantom Sense and stuff. It's so crazy, like even with just haptic feedback in the controllers and having like audio video just on your head. It's
Yeah.
so crazy how much that tricks your brain into being immersed into a space.
Yeah.
And even without FBT and complex, like let's say like a full haptic suit and stuff like that, even without that, the brain's starting to, people's brains are starting to fill in a lot of this sensory information that normally would be there in like a IRL experience. And
Yeah.
it's interesting that we're kind of crossing that boundary before we even have the tech for it.
I know, it's wild. I'd say one thing that blew my mind is how immersed I was when I first tried VR. I was a PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
Was like my first like big headset. Like earlier
Ah.
on, it was like the old school Ninja Star throwing 8-bit looking thing, but like and more modern stuff was PlayStation
Yeah.
VR 1, Resident Evil 7 VR. I played it on flat screen, loved it, amazing game. Put myself in VR, it became a terrifying experience, and I did not want anything to do
Yeah.
with it. The moment I hopped into it.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember playing Half-Life Alyx for the first time, and I had my first headset was a Samsung Odyssey Plus, which was a high-end Windows mixed reality headset.
Yep.
So it was like one of the better of the Windows mixed reality headsets, because it had an OLED screen. And experiencing like the dark scenes in Half-Life Alyx with an OLED headset, that was some scary shit. I like saw the darkness, I felt the darkness, It was like anytime I'm reloading and my little hand flashlight like goes away, I'm like, oh fuck, don't go. I better hurry up on this, like damn. This is scaring the shit out of me. Yeah, so it was something for sure.
It is indeed something. The brain is a freaky thing, and I have a strange feeling as like this VR progresses. Like even now, last 3 years, worlds look so much
Yeah.
better now. Like as things goes on, the brain's
Oh,
gonna have
yeah.
a hard time deciding is this real or is this fake. Holy shit, this feels like a table.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because I've been exploring worlds for a while, and like that's the main thing I do on this game, other than just chill out with people, of course. But like I do a lot of world exploration in this game. I found a lot of worlds just by looking through like the world repository. Like Blue Cat is a fantastic kind of they do a really good job at getting some of the best worlds in there. I swear like 80% of the worlds on there I have favorited. And there's hundreds of worlds on there now. I think
Yeah.
when they started, they had like maybe 100, and now there's probably like 300 or 400 of them now. There's all these floors of just various worlds of various creators, and I love that. I love like being able to walk down and just jump through a portal, whether it's public or not. It doesn't really matter. And on the world size, but yeah, it's awesome. I love this that aspect of this game, especially.
That world specifically, Raptor and I was world hopping with Myro P a little while ago, and he's told us that world specifically, the owner will world hop daily. He's done it since he's been in, and he updates that very
Yeah.
regularly. Like if you go in the description of that world,
Oh, yeah.
it'll tell you when it was last updated. You'll world hop, check around,
Yep.
see things, put it in the world, and it's quite cool that people like that are out there, just like sharing what they enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's been a fantastic tool for me because I'll be like, people come to me and they ask me for worlds, and it's Blue Cat, I have to, give some credence to, because yeah, it's awesome that they just collected so many worlds, and it allows you to really filter out a lot of the excess stuff. There's a lot of worlds on this game they're okay, right?
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of worlds on this game that are like blew me away, absolutely fantastic, like eye candy type of stuff,
Yeah.
where I'm having these like mind bending experiences. while my friends are like shit posting and talking about nonsense behind me, I'm just like looking up like, wow, isn't this crazy, guys? You know, and my friends are saying whatever they're saying behind me, right? But yeah, it's really cool.
Hmm.
Get a variety here.
Hmm. What was the first world that blew your mind?
Um, I think the first world that truly blew me away was Dr. Morrow's organism. I'm
Yes.
actually making a documentary on that slowly but surely.
Hmm.
I've got like a 5,000 word essay written for the script of that.
Damn.
I went really deep into it. I've been there like 40 or 50 times now because I will always show people that world. That is like my favorite world by far, other than the
Hmm.
sequels to that world, which I think I like more now.
Ye-
But that world initially just absolutely blew me away.
hmm.
And the first time I got there, I was like looking for a friend. And if you know about that world, good luck with that, because you're not going to find people if they're already halfway through that world. It's very hard to catch up with them. And I had no idea where they were. So I was like, what is this place? I got confused. Second time I go back, just mind-blowing experience. It's just like, oh my God, this guy did so much. It's one guy working on this, you know. I'd love to talk to him. I need a Russian translator, but I'd love to talk to Dr. Morrow sometime.
I believe with the translator thing, I'm hearing rumors and I'm trying
Mm.
to piece together information myself about it. But I think a live translator is coming to VR chat at some point. Like if you're to go into like the
Ooh,
notification, you know, a little while ago they're looking for crowdsourcing of language and words. I'm
yeah, yeah,
assuming
yeah.
that's what that is. So maybe at some
I thought
point,
it was for localization,
I could be wrong.
like
Although
for the UI stuff.
I was asking Thousand Faces about it, and he said he's sort of played with it, so maybe it's a thing somewhere else. But I don't know. Like it's
Okay.
out there, the live translation. Be like, talk to someone. It'd be cool if that is a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, cause so often when I'm talking to my Japanese friends on here, even though I'm still learning Japanese and I can, you know, piece together what people are saying to me, you know, 30% of the time or so,
Hmm.
um, you know, going through Google Translate, having like a second screen out in front of me here and typing my two, you know, little dots on the virtual keyboard is one thing, right? But like having a live translation would be incredible.
Would be incredible.
I think that's going to bring even more people together, you know, depending on how good the translation is. And, you know, I say something horribly offensive to somebody on accident, you know, but um, yeah, I'm looking forward to the future of that.
Mm. It's projects like that that people work on that always make me excited about VR chat. Like when I first came into VR, I didn't think much. I was like, "Oh, cool!
Hmm.
Some people build some worlds. It looks kind of like N64 in VR or in VR." And then over
Yeah.
time, I found out like people working on crazy projects, audio link, things with language and words. People who have
Yeah.
entire communities to teach you things. It's like this is a thing. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause, I have like a, what is it, 4-word review of this game
Mm.
on Steam. It's just VR chat is a place. That's it. That's what it's become for me. It's become a place. It's not like it like initially it was a social game and now it's just like a place because there's so much here.
Mm.
It's become like a living, breathing city almost, you know,
Yeah,
a multi-dimensional one, but
indeed.
it's so wild that way.
Mm. There's so many things about like VR chat specifically that not a lot of people outside of the outside of a VR headset will understand. Like one thing I was talking with some of my coworkers
Yeah.
about was like you can be here and experience live music shows or people putting on shows here, plays or what say you, and they didn't even know that was a thing. It kind of blew their mind. They could put
Yeah.
on a piece of
Yeah.
plastic and see a musician of sorts doing a thing.
I think it was the Wachowskis in the 90s, like late 90s when The Matrix came out. The Wachowskis were saying, you know, in the future, people are going to be putting on VR headsets and watching movies in theaters that way.
Mm.
Everyone at the time was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And now I see myself like going to movie worlds of this game and watching like several movies with friends that are across the country or across, you know, several oceans and stuff like that, right? And yeah, it's crazy. It's like it's new media. You know, I studied art history in school, and that shit didn't prepare me for this at all. You know,
No.
we went up to where media was up until like, 2018 or so. And, by that time VR had really started, coming out into the mainstream a bit more. Even though it is still kind of niche.
Hmm.
It was so interesting to have that perspective coming into this game and just seeing that this is just a completely new form of media that's going to be talked about for decades.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure there's going to be something beyond this too. And I'm like, what is that even?
Oh. Well, I remember hearing like looking at like BCIs, and I have a feeling whatever the next iteration
Yeah,
of
yeah.
this is, maybe that'll be involved with it, like having a direct connection to the brain, maybe to overwrite your senses of
Yeah.
sorts. Instead of putting on some really clunky
Mhm.
vibrating suit, it's just like connected to your nervous
Yeah.
system, and you feel whatever it is or
Yeah.
taste whatever it is. No idea how that would work.
Yeah. I want to see it. As long as people aren't dying in the human trials and stuff for that, right? Like I want to do it too, like there's a lot of like ethical concerns with that, with going into the brain, companies having control of that too. And I think we got to smash the shit out of that. Like we have to really make sure that we're not gonna fuck up people's brains permanently by doing that. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, shit, sign me up. Like, what are ethics? I don't know what that means.
I'm sure every weeb in VRChat enjoyer would sign up for those trials without even looking at the fine print. It's like, you mean I could like be there?
Yeah, oh yeah,
Sign me up right now. I want it.
yep. And that's how we get SAO in real life, right there. That's right how it happens.
Pretty
Yeah,
much. That laughing
yeah,
coffin comes from VRChat straight to its home.
yeah. It's real. Becomes real. Yep.
It's that is another thing about VRChat that kind of surprised me, was that whole like underworld that exists here as much as the real, like
Yeah,
the rest of us. Weird.
yeah. Yeah, because when I started getting into the club scene, I'd get to know some people, and then they'd be like, "Oh, this is an invite only thing. Here, join. I'll send you an invite." I'm like, "Oh shit, this is like exclusive now."
Mm.
People are getting to that level where it's like, these are no longer kind of public events where they try to get as many people as possible, whether they be, hackers or trolls or whatever too, that get thrown in the mix of that. Now it's like, with groups and groups instances and stuff like that, you get so much more refined like club events and experiences.
Mm.
um and I like that too, because it means like you're a part of something, whether
Yeah.
that's in person or online. It's like because the lines are getting blurred a lot of the time, which is
Mm.
really wild.
It is wild how I've a strange feeling like VRChat won't be going anywhere for reasons like that, like the clubs, that you have the groups pluses as you mentioned as well, and just the within this economy, there's other littler ones everywhere. And as
Yeah,
VRChat
yeah,
grows, even if like the next big thing comes out, I don't see VRChat going anywhere anytime soon.
yeah, yeah.
The-
Yeah, I would love to see a new platform, as long as the new platform is solid and maybe runs better. That would be awesome.
yeah.
Like, I'll definitely jump ship once it makes sense to jump ship from this game. I'm definitely gonna move on to the next thing. If my computer doesn't turn into a Honda Civic every time I put on my headset, that would be preferable to what it does right now. But yeah, like I'm excited to see what they do with this game, and to see like if they fuck it up and kind of fumble the bag on this, or if some newcomer comes in and makes a huge difference in the scene in general.
Well, even look at our current VR platforms compared to VRChat. I mean, there's so many out now between like the Central End, and then you have
Yeah.
Neos and uh, Chill Out VR and all this other stuff. But
Yep.
Cries of Worlds, but VRChat still like maintained its top spot of current best platform. And I think the way VRChat works with the community the way they do is probably one of the bigger reasons why VRChat is not going to go anywhere, even if the new big
Yeah.
thing comes
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. And frankly, I don't think it should. And I think like in the future, if we have grander, you know, I hate to call it a metaverse, but a grander metaverse that encompasses multiple games.
Mhm.
I think like having a lot of them a part of one another will get a lot of you know, people like users going between games and stuff like that. Like maybe there's
Yeah.
an event in VRChat, or maybe there's an event in another you know, a different metaverse platform or a different VR platform or something like that, or you know, another
Mhm.
game entirely like Minecraft or something. So I think we'll get more of that in the future, you know, if companies get along with each other.
Mm.
Which I mean, if there's money involved, I'm sure they'll figure something out.
Oh, oh yeah, no. With the way VR chat's going, especially with like the creator economy coming out soon, I have a strange feeling once the creator
Yeah,
economy hits, there'll be a lot of eyes, especially with people like Muzz doing his stuff. Then you have other events like the virtual reality show doing their stuff. Companies will more than likely start looking this way a lot more, which means a lot more money comes in, a lot more people and advancements and whatever else that entails.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, and I hope it's for the better, you know, like maybe some of that money getting in here works out in the end, or
Mm,
you know, I really hope it doesn't corrupt everything too. You know,
mm,
yeah, I got my fingers crossed on that, but I'm not expecting anything to be completely honest. I think like I've kept my expectations tempered because I've seen, you know, what it's done to a lot of companies in the past, whether they're related to this or not.
mm. Yeah.
So I'm hesitant, but you know, I welcome our corporate overlords as long as I can be an anime girl. I don't care.
Fair enough. One thing though with like the
Yeah,
whole monetization and getting money in, I've always had the firm belief that if it gets too bad, people will vote with their attention and their dollar. And if it's too bad, they'll go somewhere
yeah,
else and it'll collapse.
absolutely.
Like look at MySpace.
Yeah,
Facebook's now getting
yeah,
the MySpace treatment, and they're starting to corporatize a little too hard. So if I don't see VR chat being any different, that if they kind of let in too many investors and then go a little too hard on the rules or whatever, people are just like, yeah, I'll just go to chill out. They're not like that, and off they'll go to the next thing or whatever else the other thing is. Or like
yeah. Because
ye, sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Oh, like Horizon Worlds like started off being like that and no one went. It's pretty much dead in the water now.
Yeah, with so much money down the drain too.
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact number they invested into that, but I know it's a number I will never see in my life of working. So it's crazy. It's crazy like how much they threw into that, expecting people to latch onto it just because of what it was,
Mm,
rather than, you know, having kind of the the more I guess natural progression that like VR chat had, where it was super enthusiasts at the beginning that, you know,
mm,
were getting these VR headsets thrown together before Oculus was even a company, or before the
mm,
Rift even the original Rift even came out and stuff like that. And it was interesting to see a lot of like the VR chat documentaries and documentaries in general about this game, of seeing like the original players being like 20 or something, right?
yeah.
And it was just a group of 15 to 20 people on like a forum just working together on VR projects and like getting interested in this before it even hit a consumer base.
Mm.
So um I think there will always be that extreme enthusiast part of this game that
Oh yeah.
keeps it alive in some way, or keeps an old version of it alive in some way, some sort of like you know, digital preservation. I think a lot of these worlds are going to be lost too, I think, to time. And I hope
Mm.
somebody's preserving them in some way, you know, in some way that benefits the creator and not, you know, isn't like ripping the world or doing something like that, right?
Well,
I
there
wonder
are
about that.
no worlds like the repository, although we do have the VR chat
Hmm.
photographers that are out there taking pictures of things. So even if no one's
Yeah.
like logging the worlds in a digital file, at least we'll have photos of them out there. Now you have to go searching the
Yeah.
annals of Twitter, X or whatever it's called, to
Yeah.
get there, but
Yeah.
it's out there. There are some forums or people
Yeah.
who do YouTube videos on different worlds and stuff, and there is some log. Although I would like to see, as you said, a deeper, more collective of sorts.
Yeah, because I think about like game preservation and stuff, and how that's been kept alive by basically like dumping and torrenting and stuff like that, and how these larger companies, are not keeping this stuff alive or not keeping these live service games alive, and they're gone forever.
Yeah.
There's no way to access these without the network being there and without the server being there for a lot of these, like 2010s and onwards games
Mm.
that became live service games. And it's kind of crazy how fast that's happening and how much of that stuff is just going to be kind of lost to time if no one ever takes it. No one ever takes the time to have like a random, ROM dump or something like that of a game that no one even plays. But then no one will even know it existed otherwise.
Yeah. Like I'm not sure how old you are, but at least with like Raptor and I, the games we played, a lot of those games are gone forever. Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
super
I'm
old
27, so I'm starting to see it, but yeah.
I'm 32 and he's 54. And so with that said,
Oh,
well,
okay.
like some of the games that I used to play, I don't think you'll have anymore. Like Edge of Darkness, I think it is. It's a really old Lovecraftian-esque
Hmm.
horror game back for like in the Nintendo GameCube days. Things like still be able to
Yeah.
find it, but it'd be in a collector's hands, not necessarily like out there.
Yeah.
Some of those games out there as well, even before GameCube, Nintendo, Atari. You probably, if there's besides that one little random
Yeah.
handheld thing in like a Walmart, is it
Yeah.
really out there anymore?
Yeah, who's got the collection of all the all the Atari Jaguar games, the the console that killed Atari and stuff like that. I think about that a lot too. It's like how much of that was actually dumped onto a file somewhere online or something like that, or is in somebody's collection, they don't know about it, or it's like in some some grandma's garage, like they were holding on for their kids, and that kids never came and picked up their old console or old games or whatever, and it's the only remaining copy is in somebody's garage somewhere randomly or something like that. It's interesting that way. I wonder about that. And I know Yama, who you just interviewed too, about
Yeah.
you're talking about the VRChat photographers. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's cool because like I have been looking back at some of my older VRChat pictures I took in this game, just as like screenshots, stuff like that, and I'm like, where is this world?
Mm.
Or like, oh, this is what this world used to look like before the 5 updates that have come out since. So
Mm.
kind of interesting how they evolve, they change too
Mm.
alongside the game.
Yeah, I have noticed when, like, for example, when a group of world builders starts improving, it doesn't take long for whatever techniques they have to spread like wildfire. Like the next big
Yeah,
thing to make worlds more immersive or look better, a week, maybe two, generally it spreads. Then the rest of the game kind of goes
yeah,
with it, even though it's like a loose collective of people who share stuff. Like I remember I was talking
yeah,
with some people before, some world builders, and people like way back in the day before you and I started in 2020, people like hold those things close to them. Like there's some new thing like
yeah,
audio link, they wouldn't share it because like it's unique to my world or unique to my avatar. I don't want other people having it. Now it's like here's the
yeah,
asset bundle. It's kind of
yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to have control of their own creation too, and I totally get that. But yeah, I think allowing more people to use it, sharing is caring, as they say, right? But
Oh yeah.
allowing more people to use it will be a good thing overall. It's just like some people are like, "This is my tech. Like, how do I make money off of this?" And I totally get it. If that's somebody's income source, I totally see it. But yeah, like there's so much tech that has come out as far as like IK 2.0, IK 3.0, all the tracking differences, the differences in just technology and hardware and stuff that has come out in the past 3 years or so. It's crazy, like how much it's progressed for what some consider to be such a niche thing still.
Mm,
Even though there is a significant portion of people playing this now.
mm. Well, even though VRChat's a niche, it's still one of the only platforms that incorporates all the new things. Face tracking,
Hmm.
all the different haptic suits. Once some of the haptic gloves, or you can move your fingers, guarantee you VRChat will be
Yeah,
one of the first
yeah,
ones to incorporate it, one of the only ones to incorporate all of them simultaneously. If you go to like Gorn, you'd be like, may have finger tracking, you may have some of
yeah,
those weird things, but all of them, no. VRChat and the social platforms are
yeah.
the ones that have everything.
Yeah. I had a friend recently. He got full body tracking, you know, and he got it specifically for this game. He's like, "Well, what else can I do with FBT?" And I'm like, I mean, you can do mocap at a low level. Like you can do mocap for film and TV and stuff like that too. Like you technically can.
Mm.
You maybe need more trackers and a higher amount of base stations and stuff to get a better tracking thing, so you don't have a flickering leg like I do every 5 to 10 seconds here. But yeah, like there's not much you can use this tech for outside of this game, you know. And I hope we see more of that stuff coming in, you know, as the user base gets larger.
Mm. I think
Yeah,
with one of those things, like I may laugh at like Horizon Worlds at their attempt at making a social platform, but me seeing it,
sure.
whether corporations or some indie developer make a thing, I personally get excited because I enjoy being here, and if someone makes a thing that brings more eyes here, all the power to them. Whether it's a YouTube channel, another podcast, some other person making some uh, Legend of Zelda game VR, whatever it is, I welcome all of it because it brings new people, and new people means they one day will be able to
Yeah.
come here and experience a world like this. Who knows?
Yeah. And I've been trying to get more and more of my friends into this too. One of my friends just mentioned to me, he's like, I want to upgrade my PC and I want to get into VR. I'm like, awesome, man. Let me know. I got a parts list ready to go. I can just send it your way right now. You know, I already know like what to put in a computer for this. Like, if you have the money and you're willing to do it, just like I always tell my friends, just let me know if you want to get into VR because I know some people. You know, I can get you some discounts on things here and there, or look for stuff. And I just hope more people are willing to get into it, you know, and more people see the power of this stuff, you know. And I've been showing this to my friends, my family, stuff like that, and they always are interested, you know. But they're like, well, I don't know if it's worth that cost. I'm like, it's worth what you put into it, you know, too, because you could have like a $700 entry level PC or something like that, and hook up a Quest to it, or without a PC at all and just use a Quest 2, and that might be a more limited experience, but it's still an experience in VR in a social platform where you can talk to people. So you get a light version of this, but you still get a lot of content in that headset without a PC.
Well, speaking of like quests, it doesn't take a whole lot for your brain to be like, this is a real place and be immersed and feel presence.
Yeah,
Sometimes all it takes is just a simple little bit of presence and your brain does all the rest. Like even think about sight, how
yeah,
majority of what you're seeing is your brain just collecting things together and making a thing that is your sight. So with that
yeah,
said, even if it's a quest, it doesn't take much, but like the full experience of like what you, me, Raptor have with like full PC VR and stuff, it is a little steep
yeah,
to jump into. It's like I'm sure if you want to see like this guy's got face tracking, a full body, and an index, and a PC, it's like six,
yeah,
$7,000 for like the whole slew of
yeah,
getup. A lot of people look at that and go, yeesh, and not even bother. But there's quests out there, and Quest
yeah.
2 and Quest Pros. Then there's this Valve Deckard coming out soon and stuff like that. Maybe it'll get cheaper.
Yeah, and I think like if people are getting like, let's say like they get like a gaming laptop or something like that for school. Well, now a lot of those gaming laptops, even at the mid to lower end, are able to run VR in
Mm.
a like pretty good, decently good way. So a lot of people that have laptops do end up, playing this game or something like that too. And there's a lot of ways to get into it. And I think also too, like if you're already a PC gamer too, that's like another huge draw for a lot of people. If they already have an amazing rig that they use for just, flat screen 2D gaming, then some of them are going to be tempted to go into VR, especially knowing now if you build like a high-end PC now, it's gonna run VR really well. Like
Mm.
to an extent, right? It can't run an 80-person instance any better than other high-end computers,
I
but
know.
yeah. Hopefully that gets fixed eventually. That's one of my main issues with this game.
Well,
Um,
to be
but
fair on
yeah,
that, when we have like the loose collective people building things, it's not like everyone knows how to optimize perfectly, and you have a huge loose collective people doing it. Unless VRChat incorporates some like auto optimizer within the SDK where you upload your world and the thing just like through what is it called, the numerics system where everything's all done in code.
yeah,
unless it like auto codes
Yeah.
everything. It puts in physics colliders to it, so it's like the most optimized it can be. But I don't think we're there yet. So now we deal with like, does little Johnny and Timmy over there, do they know how to optimize, or is it going to be like some of those worlds you find made in
Yeah.
Japan that's like fuck tons of particles and stuff where your rig just to me sounds like a jet turbine over in the corner of your room.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's I mean so I was with a group for Enterfest. So I helped on Enterfest. And that was a pretty major event we did in VR with like 12 different acts, musical, video, and then DJ as well. And we had up to 80 people in there at some points, with like 35 people in the queue in this instance. And I was like helping out with security. One of the things I will give my PC a lot of credit for was not crashing during that instance even once. Because there were just so many people there, and I was rocking a cinematic 24 frames a second on my headset. It was horrible. However, it was really fun. Even though I was experiencing all of this like horrific frame rate and shit like that, just bad performance in general. The spirit of the music, the spirit of the people being there, really like showed through a bit. Even though I had people's avatars turned up past like 2 meters away from me, and everyone looked like a rhombus. It was great for the times where we all came together as a group and still had this fun time. But yeah, I just hope in the future we can really optimize the shit, optimize the shit out of this game, or have a different platform that's just more optimized in general. Because I think it's holding us back in a lot of ways, even though so many enthusiasts don't mind the low frame rate anymore because we've just gotten used to it.
Yeah, it's funny how much one could get used to. Like, for example, when I first come in, I found out what VR sickness was. I was like, man, I really don't want to, but I can't peel myself away. And after like a week, it goes away. And then your brain goes, okay, cool. And then you could ride roller coaster rides or jump out of space onto a planet or whatever.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah.
Nope, I don't jump off of planets.
Why not?
Hey, become part of the fucking situation and be one of the planets. Land on Raptor, it's the best way to go, if you get my drift.
Still fly around, yeah.
It is kind of crazy though how much your brain can adapt to, especially with like VR technology. Like, yeah, 20, 15 frames sucks, but over time he's like, it's not too bad. It's not immersive. It's kind of funny watching a Ugandan Knuckles trying to run where it kind of looks kind of robotic and funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in this Japanese club world one time, and I think there was 102 people in this instance somehow. I don't know how the limit works on that stuff, but I know that they were, exceeding it somehow through some, I don't know, magic of server technology. And I was in there with 10 frames, and I was like, I just had my head still. I had like my double chin activated, and I was just like locking my head so it wouldn't move too much, so I wouldn't get too sick or anything. And I remember like, yeah, this is the club experience, and I have like everyone's avatar turned off, and I'm like just sitting there at 10 frames a second. I'm like, damn, I think I should throw another grand in my PC. And then I did.
Fair enough. Man, watching all these rhombuses have fun with other rhombuses is great. Maybe I should see what some of these people are.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I'd like turn some of them on, and then I'd have like too many avatars on. I'm like, all right, who do I turn off? Who am I not talking to in this instance? I'd turn the DJ on so I could see them having fun. But yeah, it's like so often you're just like, no. Ooh, 500 megs. No, I'm not loading that. So yeah, we're getting to that point too.
Yeah, it is kind of hard though with some of those things with like kid bashing and stuff like that, where avatars really aren't optimized. Like, unfortunately, mine kind of is that way, but the avatar itself is a medium avatar. Everything else is just clothes. Like, it's as basic
Yeah.
as, well, it's not as basic as I can make it, but I do like the armor, so it's going to stay very poor because of that.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny. I know some people that have pretty big avatars too. And yeah, it's pretty funny sometimes because I'll like turn their avatar off and it'll be like one avatar and I gain like 10 FPS. I'm like, oh man, that's
It's
crazy.
it's kind of crazy how some of those e-boy, e-girl avatars could be the exact same size as a world or larger. It's like, here's half a gig avatar that would like
Yeah,
realistic moving hair and reflective clothing. It's turn it off and frames. Oop.
yeah.
Tracking.
Yeah, you get like so many frames from turning some of those avatars off, and I just find it really funny each time. It's like, man, you were living in like a whole 16th of my VRAM right now, bro. Like, why? You know, like, what's going on here? I see like the texture memory is literally like half a gig or up to a gig sometimes. I'm like, oh my god, there's all my VRAM. That's where it's going. Oh, okay, I understand now.
A friend of Raptor and I named Dara, he rocked a Rusk that was 200 plus megabytes, and you would turn it on,
Yeah,
and your PC would hate it. Why it was 200 megabytes is because it had an entire wardrobe system forced into the avatar, different types of clothing and
yeah,
pets and shoes and gizmos and hoodas, all within it. It's all it is just clothes and a good quality Rusk.
yeah. Yeah, that's what's so crazy is like the clothes take so much because a lot of people use really high resolution textures for their avatars in general.
Yeah.
So like I've made a few Vroids myself too, and like brought them into Unity and like learned that way of how to bring an avatar in and stuff like that. And I eventually would like to buy a model when I'm not like saving up for my trip right now. But yeah, like it gets so complex too, and I'm really interested in going deeper into avatar building. What I'd really like to start doing though now is like world creating because I've spent so much time in worlds like this and just like exploring them, curating them slowly but surely. That I really want to start making my own stuff that reflects kind of that experience I had for the past few years. So yeah, I definitely want to start getting into that as well.
I
And I know some people that can help with that too.
I don't blame you. VRChat's one of the best places to learn a lot of that part of game creation as well, because so many people are
Yeah.
so willing to just take the time and help you. Like even not with like world creation, but like your regular VR problems. Like, oh hey, my headset's doing a funny thing. You'd be in a public lobby, the person just run up. This is your solution. Here's how you fix it, and then vanish. As soon as they came and helped you.
Yep. Yep. And I've run into that several times. They'll be like, why is my tracking doing this? It's like, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? Oh, that was it. Thanks. No problem. Disconnect. Haven't seen them in 2 years. Like, yeah, I totally know what you mean with that. Because yeah, I end up helping a lot of people on this game too. Because like I know what it's like to be a first day person on this game, and like how crazy this shit is. How much of a pain it is to get VR set up in the first place, but once you have it set up, it's fine for the most part. But yeah, there's just so much tech involved right now, and I feel like once we get further into the future and we get maybe like a VR kit that's all in one, I'm really looking forward to that, where people don't have to go with like 3 different companies to get their setup working, right? It can just be a haptic suit, full body tracking headset, all in one, right? I think that'd be a really cool thing to have. Just so it's simpler for people to set up and stuff too, because it is a very technical process, and a lot of us, PC gamers for, years and stuff we don't really have that much of an issue with like Googling stuff or like figuring stuff out on our own sometimes too. But I hope for like the accessibility end of things that just gets a lot easier, where it's more plug and play than what it is right now.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
at least I've noticed with Steam, with a lot of the new tech, they pretty much have it set to be super simple to set up. Like Vive trackers, it's almost instantaneous setup. Like there's very little you got to do. It's
Yeah.
not like it's like the slime trackers. We have to open up some weird code program, put in a bunch of code, hope to God it was the right code to put in. But with like Valve and Steam and some of the stuff for Quest as well, it's just turn on, put in chord, you're good to go more or less after that. Which is nice to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I got an index because I was like, I know I want to do FBT. I didn't have the money at the time to get like the full setup, but the way I even afforded the index in the first place was the stimulus check. So I used my stimulus check to buy this, like the pandemic one. And then my second stimulus check, I bought FBT. So the first one, yeah, was the index. The second one was the FBT, and then I just used it for like 2 years now. So I still have 2.0 trackers. I haven't wanted to go to 3.0 because I know the second I buy 3.0, they will announce 4.0, and I will feel like an idiot. So like, I'm just waiting for the 4.0s to be announced, and then I'll be like, okay, now I can upgrade that. You know, hope to God they work with the base station.
Funny thing is my first headset was an index. First stimulus check as well. I bought an index. Shortly after that, I was working so many hours, I had a savings that was insane. It's like, I'm getting the 3.0s right off. First headset, first tech external, haven't gone any further besides like fourth tracker for the chest, which just makes avatars like a little less weird. Besides that, like it's been a great experience with the 3.0s. I tell you, it's worth it. You go from 2 to 4 hours to 7, 8, which is if you play that long, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, because I get like roughly 4 on the 2.0s. Like it's around. I'll get my controllers on my hands around like 45% or so. Before my other trackers die. But yeah, it's definitely something I want to upgrade in the future. I've also thought about doing like sort of a Darth Vader rig where I have like cords running up my body and stuff like that to like a central battery pack or something. I've considered doing something like that. I think it'd be a really fun little craft project to make like a VR suit or something with a bunch of coiled cables so I could move my hands and stuff and not worry about the cables getting frayed or something like that.
There is an easier way than that. Track strap pluses. They give you 12 hours extra of life, and then you can just get a USB splitter, which would be like a little cord with 2 other USBs. Plug it into your index and plug those into your controllers.
Yeah, out of the front. Yeah.
Yeah, because those things, like I said, I rocked those.
I've considered that too.
You'll get about, with the 3.0s, I have like maybe 18 to 20 hours of life. I don't use them anymore. I usually stick to 6 to 7 hours my 3.0s give me. More than enough for me. I don't usually play longer than that anyway. Life and having a job.
Yeah. I usually what I do if I'm playing like a long session of this game, my trackers will die halfway through, and then I'll go half body for however long these last, but I'll throw those on the charger wall. I'm waiting for that. Then after that, a lot of times I'll actually use an Xbox controller to move around if I still want to play after my hand controllers have died. So I'll have my head moving around like this in VR, but then I'll be moving with an Xbox controller. It's like a really silly thing you can do once your controllers die. So it's always a really funny moment then.
So how is VR and Xbox controller? I haven't gone that far yet. I usually, once my trackers on my feet and stuff start dying, it's like, it's probably time I get some sleep. At that point, it's like 1 a.m. It's like, I don't need to stay up any later than that.
Yeah, if I'm going like full degenerate, usually I will use the Xbox controller. You can also use keyboard and mouse, which is really weird. Or at least you can use keyboard to move around with a VR headset on, because I think that's kind of a holdover from the Oculus days. Before they had controllers and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really weird. You can't like turn your head. You can only move in 4 directions or eight directions. So you have to turn physically still. But you can use the controller to move around, which is just really strange.
PlayStation VR,
it's a possible thing you can do.
It's like you have the controller in your hands. You can still look around, use the all of that stuff. It is sort of for
Yeah.
PSVR. I wasn't a fan because I used PSVR 1, but not the new one, and it was so janky. The screen door is so bad. It was virtually like
Yeah.
almost unplayable, to be honest. The index kind of
Yeah.
spoiled me going back to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think like even this headset now is starting to be, has been outclassed by other headsets in forms of like resolution and stuff like that. Not necessarily in refresh rate or FOV, but like
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really interested in seeing like what those high end kind of pancake lens headsets look like because I've thought about getting a big screen once that launches, but I want to give it time, and I've got other purchases I got to make too, but um I really want to see what the long-term support is for that and like how good that headset ends up being because I've heard like so many really great things from the big reviewers in the space, but um yeah, I'm interested in seeing what that headset is like. I'd really love to not wear a toaster on my head if possible.
What's what's wrong with your 20-pound potato on the front of your face? Aren't you immersed?
Yeah, yeah, my neck is immersed when I have to go to the massage therapist. Yeah.
It's great after like your
You know
6 to 12-hour game session. You take it off, and your head almost just kind of shoots back because you're used to all that weight in front of
yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Oh Lord.
it's so wild what we get used to for this crazy technology. I was trying to explain some of it to my grandpa today, and that's always a tough conversation. But he's a very open-minded person, so I lucked out there on my grandpa, bless him for that. But like, man, I was like really struggling to explain like how virtual reality works, so I simplified it. I was like, it's like being in another place. It's like being in a game rather than watching something. You're in that space. He's like, I kind of get that. I'm like, all right, cool. That's as far as I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, that's a whole other subject of trying to explain VR to other people. It is a really hard thing. Like I could explain, like I said before, you can go to shows in VR. It's like being in a video game with musicians from like Japan are playing music you're here in the U.S. watching.
Yeah,
But like having to explain all the experiences here is super difficult. How to go telling people you went with a 12-hour bender with a SpongeBob, a Knuckles, and a Patrick over in some club listening to
yeah,
some music. They'll think you're insane.
yeah. Oh, I've gotten those looks before too. They're like, what do you mean you hang out with like a guy who's in a Kermit the Frog costume and you talk about death and like the most deep like just conversations you'll ever have with people, and they got like a goofy, just insanely goofy avatar of some weird sort. I've had conversations with people in this game that are literally like a trash can, and when they talk, like the trash can lid opens, or like I'll have just wild avatars that I'll talk to, and I'll have like the greatest conversations with those people. And it's like so human. Like the experience is so human, while what you're seeing can be so alien and so different from what we're used to in the real world. But yeah, it's like a very human space.
Yeah, that was one of the things I wasn't when I first hopped in. I wasn't expecting all was the whole like you're gonna talk with a really tiny purple Ugandan Knuckles that sounds like they're from
Yeah,
Uganda, but definitely isn't from Uganda, and you're gonna have deep
yeah,
conversations with the Ugandan Knuckles, and it's gonna be great.
yeah, yeah. I never expected that. I think like when I met my Japanese friend, I literally was just like, I just referenced JoJo. Like I was wearing like a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure avatar, and I was just like, quoting from that show and shit like that. And he and I got along super well because of that. Like he and I like just connected on that. But then it went from there, like we start getting into music, and we start talking about music, and he's like, Japanese guy, he's like, you ever listen to this gospel artist? I'm like, what? It's like, yeah, I love American gospel music. I'm like, holy shit, man. I would have never expected that in my entire life. And now I'm going to go meet him. So
Oh,
I'm really
nice.
excited to do that. Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Funny thing is me, Raptor and I are doing also a trip to the same place, Japan, but next year in June, beginning of
Oh,
June,
word.
end of May. Yeah,
Okay.
because some friends of ours has been trying to get us to go to a trip with them anywhere. Last year, they're trying to get us to go join them in Germany for New Year's. This year, they
Yeah.
want to go to Japan, and so we finally said yes. We're gonna meet a Finnish guy, a Swedish dude, and some other people we've known for the longest time, like years. Never seen their face at all, other than on camera.
Yeah.
Mostly just an anime girl, another anime girl, a furry, and then now
Yep.
finally, it is. I hope you enjoy your trip. I genuinely hope you enjoy your trip.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna be going out in January, and yeah, it's gonna be two of my VR chat friends coming with me to go meet another VR chat friend over there for a couple nights. But we're gonna be touring all through Japan, through like
Oh.
Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, and Nagoya. So I'm
Oh.
really looking forward to it. Yeah, it's gonna be snowy too. It'll be kind of in the off season, so I'm excited to
Okay.
see like, fewer crowds potentially too.
Well, I do genuinely hope you enjoy your trip. Man. It sounds
Thank you.
really awesome.
Yeah,
Indeed.
yeah,
Who knew that places like VR would give you the ability to meet people you would have never have been able to meet in your day-to-day life?
would have
Or
never met them. Yeah, absolutely not. Yeah.
I would have, like, for example, I would have never been able to meet Raptor here, who lives in the opposite side of the country than I do. Never have met him. Even within
Yeah.
VR chat, kind of crazy how the butterfly effect can, like, if I didn't meet this dude who then eventually introduced me to that dude who eventually invited you to the people you call your friends, even in VR. Who knew that if you never spent your stimulus check on your headset, would you even have known any of these guys?
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
I thought it was your milk
Yeah.
money. You been lying to me all this time, line? Son of a bitch. That was my milk money.
I could start peeling back the truth a little bit between our fun little friendship if you'd like.
No. You can keep the milk money all you want. Just make sure it ain't Bitcoin.
Milk money, indeed.
Yeah, milk money. Didn't have the
That sounds
GP
ominous.
before.
I
didn't
won't- I won't
find- I
pry.
found it in the gutter. I found my money in the gutter. Works
Yeah.
great every time.
Raptor and I spend an awful lot of time just giving each other shit. I'm sure if you've seen a couple of videos, you're like, we'll talk with the guy or amongst yourselves. Here's a subject. Just kidding. Here's a 37-minute sidetrack of this other weird thing where started Raptor and I arguing about some other thing. It happens all the time. We just give each other shit. So you'll hear ominous things like, definitely milk money, but it means nothing. We're just kind of busting each other's chops.
good, good.
For now.
That is a sign of a true friendship. Give each other shit constantly.
Hey, hey, stay out of the. We don't know. Okay, I'm not gonna. Nope, not gonna say it. Nope, not gonna say it.
Say it,
See
bitch.
what happens when I start saying shit?
Say it, bitch.
I get myself into trouble.
Curious
Not now,
now.
if you're gonna talk so
I'm-
sexually to me. I don't know how to handle it. Whoa.
I didn't know you're into me like that, Raptor.
Hey, don't say shit like that. We already got people thinking that already. Now we got it out now. Here it comes. I'm gonna catch
Yeah,
you
the
up.
fan
I
fiction
didn't
writes
know you were
itself.
Well-
dating Lion. I'm not.
The funny thing is, some friends of ours jokingly tell them that we're married. We're not.
Ah, I see.
We're not.
Uh,
Yeah.
honestly, even if fan fiction was to sprout out of it, I'd probably be just as amused as they were writing it. I'd gladly just laugh and read.
Be commenting myself.
Laugh, read, and add to it. He forgot
Yeah.
the add to part to it. Well,
Yeah.
we could get back to you next week on that one. Yeah, all right. Mm-hmm.
I totally wouldn't start
Yeah.
collecting fan fiction on a bookshelf for fun. I wouldn't do that ever.
Oh, no, not at all. Just see his garage, and you don't even have a garage. It's just packed to the ceiling. He's using his insulations now. What the hell? It keeps him warm in the winter. Oh, boy.
Yeah, we have some interesting senses of humor. Fair warning.
Oh, that's all good. Yeah.
Should have warned him when we
I've
started.
experienced.
Where's the fun in that?
Yeah, but we don't want to scare the guy. And he's going, oh, God, I met these two fucking nuts. They should have went swimming. What do you mean swimming? One was holding the brick, and the other one was trying to hold the anchor. I don't want to know which one goes to the bottom first. Yeah, you get my drift.
Well, to be fair,
I do.
in VRChat standards, we're pretty normal. More normal than most of it out there. It's not like people are going to catch you or
Yeah.
I doing things like ear peeing in a public drinking night lobby or screaming about drama or just kind of
Yep.
laughing about some random dumb shit.
Yeah, that's just public worlds in a nutshell. I feel it's just like, just have to expect that going in. I think like I only go back to them here and there because I do like to
Just
go
for the
back and meet new
laughs.
people.
I go
yeah.
back for the laughs. Just to
Yeah.
see, I haven't been in there for a while. Hey, how about I sneak back in and hit a few of them just to see? Holy shit, now I see why I left. Not
Yeah,
coming
exactly.
back for another month just to
Yeah.
make sure I'm safe. Yeah.
It's like when they open the Disney vault to release another movie back in there. It's like sometimes I just want to close that vault back up. You know?
We added color to it now. Yeah, I got you where that was going.
Yeah.
Yeek.
So I have a question for you, Reth. What was your first true VRChat experience? And if you want, I can give you an example as what I mean by that.
Oh, I know what you mean.
Okay.
Okay, this was my first day in this game. So I was in a Master Chief avatar, because this was like literally my first day. So I was like, I gotta go find an avatar. And at the time, I wasn't, really like I was into anime and stuff, but I was like, I don't really want to be an anime girl. That didn't happen until later. And then, so I was a Master Chief. I walk into the infamous Void Club because I'd heard a lot of shit about this, and I was like, okay, I wanna go experience this. What's this all about? I've seen a few YouTube videos, and so I go into Void Club, and I go into like this dance hall where there's 2 poles set up for pole dancing.
Yep.
And I was like jokingly like, I'm pole dancing in half body, just joking around, like, turning my camera around that. And all of a sudden, this group of people comes in, and I think it's this one girl's birthday or something. Not sure. This group of people comes in, and then I see this guy out of nowhere comes in with like a very muscular, like kind of semi-realistic male avatar, and he's got chaps on, assless chaps, mind you, nothing back there, and I just see him all of a sudden. He was using some sort of program to get this audio working, but I just start hearing Pony by Genuine, which is a very like seductive song, right? And so this guy starts bumping and grinding. This is my first day. I see this guy in FBT doing this shit, starts bumping and grinding on this girl, giving her a lap dance. And I was like, yo, what the fuck? But I was also just hysterically crying, laughing, because it was one of the funniest things I'd ever seen. And I didn't really know much of the underground. I knew like people were ERPing in the game and stuff like that, and that didn't really surprise me all that much. But when I had seen that, like my first day, I see this guy giving this girl a lap dance. I was just laughing my ass off. And then at the end of it, you could hear him you could hear this girl. She was like, "Can I get your number?" And the guy comes on mic, unmutes. He's like breathing heavily. He just did a whole workout for her, right?
Yep.
It's like, I ain't gonna share my number in a public world, but I'll give you my Discord. And I was like, oh my fucking god, that is gonna be the most weird ass VR chat like 2020's internet shit I've ever heard. Like, I'll give you my Discord, not my number, because we're in a public world. I'm like, Jesus Christ, only in VR chat. And that sort of thing happened. It was just it just blew me away that sort of thing could happen in the game. And that's when I was hooked. I was like, okay, there's got to be more crazy shit out here, and there was, and I'm still here.
I have a story for you from one of my first true VR experiences. I shared it a few times, but I shared it because it's one of my more favorite stories because it's funny as shit. So when I first hopped in first week, I was exploring and I saw this Murder 4 thing. I was like, cool, what's this? Looks like a game. I want to try it. Load into a random public lobby because I didn't know anybody. And then as soon as I spawn in the waiting lobby, there's a huddle of questies just in a little pile together. in e-girl avatars moaning Oni-chan repeatedly like some sort of fucked up spell of sorts. Oni-chan, oh Oni-chan, and I noped the fuck out of there as fast as the home button would take me. It was one of the like first public instances I was in. It's just that. It's like, nope, I don't want to be there. I hate it. I'm not going to do public instances anymore. I'm only do this invite-only instance. That was a horrifying experience. Later on, I ended up going to a drinking night, and I was like, I'm gonna have a beer and relax. And I'm at the mirror, like a good old VR user it does, and above there's a couple just ERPing in the public lobby right above. You can see the whole horde of mirror dwellers trying not to look up, but looking up occasionally as they're both unmuted going ham. Right there in the open, just going nuts right above the mirror. Those are my first two true VR chat experiences.
That shit surprises me. Like, because I don't want to say, oh, you gotta have a lot of balls to do that. It's like, no, that's just fucking wild. Like, why would you do that? Like, I just don't understand it. Like, there's no way for me to logicize that kind of behavior. And I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Like, usually I see that, I'm like, man, what the fuck? And I leave, But I'm just like, why there? There's a million places you could go to in this game. Like, literally a million different worlds, I'm sure, that you could go to. And you chose here in the middle of the fucking lobby on a public where there could be anyone of any age viewing this shit. It's like, damn, bro. Why? That's all I gotta say. It's why.
Although, to be fair, I turned their avatars off so it looked a lot more comical than it should when you see a cactus and an e-girl just doing things they shouldn't. It's pretty fucking hilarious. It's like, I don't want to stare at the naked body, so instead I'll just watch two cacti go ham.
Yeah, you're getting fallbacked. Yeah, sorry, buddy.
I'll just turn your volume down or mute you, put you on fallback. Now it just looks like two cacti wrestling. It's a lot more funnier now.
Yeah, I don't want to be on the hub. I'd rather be on Cinemax if that's the case. That's God. Just censor it. Jesus, it's wild. People are wild in this game. Like people are so free in this game. It's so wild.
Well, to be honest, as Raptor said in some of our episodes, you have the anonymous nature of your VR chat account and your anonymous nature of your avatar. So it's a lot like being on Twitter or Facebook. You can either post some wild things or keyboard warrior your way through whatever here. It's not like anyone's going to know who you are, really. But it's like the closest thing between like reality and a social media page.
Yeah. It blurs that line so often to where this has become my social media.
Yep.
Like, because I don't really have I don't have a Twitter. Like, I have a YouTube and stuff like that, and I have a couple places where I've started to have a very small following of mostly just my friends and stuff like that for streaming. Like, I'll do VTubing sometimes and stuff, but like outside of that, I don't do that like at all. Like, I'll do Discord, of course. That's like how gamers talk to each other in the modern era, but yeah, it's like traditional social media from like the late 2000s to now, like, just does not work for me anymore. Like, I just don't gain anything from that in the way that I used to maybe when I was younger. And so I've kind of just fully disconnected from that stuff and become, sort of not really a ghost online, but definitely I aim more towards like VR chat and Discord and stuff like that because I feel more comfortable with these platforms. And there's just more expression on here. I think in like VR chat, and even though it's a smaller community, I don't mind that at all, because it means, the people that are creating for this space are creating the best thing they possibly can because they love it, or whatever they want to make here, right? And I love that aspect of it.
Indeed. Funny thing is, before VR chat, I had really in my real life never had a social media. If you're like find my Facebook page, it's dead. It's things I'm tagged in, not me posting things. You may find an old post for me where it's like, here's a funny Christmas meme. Other than that, it's a dead show. I'm one of those people. It's like, if I know you, I'll share things with you. So once I came to VRChat,
Yeah.
it started this, or what became part of this thing is like first like true social media thing I've had. Still don't understand it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
No. Yeah.
Still don't. I feel really old sometimes. Like, how do I get the whole Twitter thing? I'll just throw shit into the box until
Yeah.
hopefully it works.
Yeah, because I had a very weird experience with social media growing up because it was really just coming out when I was like a teenager. So I had a Twitter when I was 12. I didn't
Yeah.
think anything of it. My parents didn't think anything of it. Like I had told them, hey, I want to get a Twitter. I'm younger or whatnot, right? But I just want to get a Twitter and go on there and see what's up with that. I was just kind of interested in that at the time because it was kind of a new thing where people were like microblogging and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I got a Facebook at like 14 and like I deleted that one when I was like 17 or something, and then I got another one later and deleted that one too more recently. And yeah, I just never connected with that stuff as much because I felt like people were just kind of putting on an act. Whereas in this
Yep.
game, they're putting on a different avatar, becoming something else sometimes. They might be like RPing into it or whatever, right?
Mm.
But people are so much more genuine here than they are on other platforms,
Yeah.
And that's like really what drew me here is like, oh, I get so much of the human spirit while looking at a furry or looking at Kermit the Frog or looking at an anime girl or whatever, right? And that's what really drew me here away from all those other social media things because people were creating the falsified life rather than living as who they actually are, whether that's through a persona or whatnot too. Like, yeah.
Indeed.
Because this whole my whole username kind of comes from a persona I used to play a lot more on this.
Oh, really?
And I've become, basically become more of myself over time as that's kind of faded. But I used to talk like this and do like a Seth Rogen laugh all the time. Like I used to do that shit constantly. And that's like how I met people at first, especially in like pubs and stuff like that. And I get to know them and I just, use my normal speaking voice like I am now. But for so long, it became a part of like my personality. Like it's my status is constantly, like constantly that. And I refuse to change it. But it's like, that's what I built up as far as like a persona to just get into meeting people to like kind of break the ice at first. And then like, once I got more into this game, I was like, shit, I kind of shed that away a bit. And I use it more sparingly, like only do the laugh here and there more sparingly. Cause yeah, like I'll go into a public and they'll be like, do the laugh, man, do the laugh. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I got to do the song and dance for all the people in the public lobby. Like, damn.
Do that one scene, Shrek, do the roar.
It's literally that. It is quite literally that. I have had that experience like 20, 30 times at least. Like,
Oh, really?
It's so funny though. Yeah, because we'll go into Publix, like my friends and I will go into Publix sometimes just for shits, like just to see somebody who's in there, whatever, just to experience it because we haven't been there for so long because we've been sticking to the Friends Plus or Invite or whatnot too, and yeah, it's so funny going back to it and just being like, oh shit, this is why we left. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go to public lobbies myself once in a while. I don't do it often anymore. It's like I go in there, you see these screaming questies and the weird
Yeah.
things that are said in lobbies that kind of made you leave
Yeah,
in the first
slurs,
place.
just so many slurs, just all the slurs. It's so bad. Like, I'm like, Jesus, people, God,
You
find
know
a different word to say, like anything else, like really anything else.
You know, sometimes public lobbies brings me back to like the old school Halo and Call of Duty days, back when you'd go into a lobby and you hear
That's what it feels like.
wonderful new 4-letter words for you to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's definitely like impacting like the kids and the younger people that come to this game as they did with Call of Duty back in the day. And yeah, it's wild, like how people are being socialized by this now. When you're talking about your friend that is younger and going into this, that's insane. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things I think we, as a human race need to think about more as we come out tech with like Vrchat and VR. What will be the long lasting repercussions of being in VR? Let's
Yeah.
use a newer phenomena, social media. Like once you see like MySpace and old school Facebook pop up, you kind of can see correlation with people acting kind of wacky in the real world, going increasingly higher as people are like really trying to gain people's attention and being very desperate, like give me the like, give me the thing, I want the thing so often.
Yeah.
And will VR chat, what kind of weird things will that bring about? Well, I'm going to use something a lot more harmless that from VR chat is like head pats. How many times
Yeah.
have you seen people like like I learned doing that from here. When I first popped in, I just kind of wave at people and talk randomly, but now I'll just go up to people. It's like, hey, how's it going? I have to like restrain myself from
Yeah.
doing it in real life sometimes. It's like I want to meet someone new and I just immediately reach out. It's like it's gonna be kind of condescending in the real world. It's like, how you doing, champ?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so different, like, cause we just kind of created a culture by playing this over and over and over. Like we created this whole separate VR culture that has grown and changed over, the past, what is it, like 6 or 7 years this game's been out.
Mm,
And it's so weird to see the changes in that too. Like if you go back to like the Knuckles era or something like that too, and going to now, like how much different it is. And a lot of people that are like hardcore OG VRChat players are like upset that it's changed, or like they might be the opposite and might love that it's changed too. Um, and they like the direction it's going, or they hate it, or they're somewhere in between, right? And it's so interesting how much the culture of this game changes and how fast it changes, depending on who's playing or like what's being said, what's popular here, and stuff like that too. It just like it's formed this whole international culture, which I think is super cool.
It is really cool. Like I think the fast nature of things
Yeah.
is probably common for VR chat, like most things on the internet. Like let's use DJs and clubs for example. If you're to look through the vast amount of worlds, I'm sure you could see a history of worlds of clubs starting and collapsing very frequently. Be like
Yeah.
maybe some drama, maybe just people stopped going, then or the vault that started off as someone's school project and then stopped being relevant. It happens so often here.
Yeah.
It's common. Friend groups, for example, also do that. You like be in a friend group and like a month later it's like a whole new group of people.
Yeah. Yeah. Because how I formed friends on here is like, a lot of times we'd have a lot in common, and then we'd be friends, and then over time, like we'd be better and better friends, and then like we'd start hanging out with different groups of people, or like we'd both start hanging out with different groups of people simultaneously, and then kind of a Venn diagram of our friends starts happening, and then you get like almost a third group of people from that, those two groups coming together. So like a lot of my friend groups are all connected in some way or another to one another, at least my digital friend groups, right? Like I have IRL friends too, of course, but like some of them are in this now too, like a part of this game as well, to varying extents. But it's interesting to like see how those friend groups kind of move together. Some leave too, of course. There's going to be drama there when you bring in all sorts of other people with different opinions and all that too. But it's interesting, like how much I have like very long. I feel like I have very long lasting friends in this game that I will have for a large portion, if not the rest of my life, because we connected on some level that like went beyond just kind of normal human connection, meeting through like school or work or something too, right? And I've got lifelong friends outside of this game, but I feel like I've made so many inside of this game because there is so much shit in common that we could have, and it makes a huge world of difference. Mostly because we're all weebs, right? So like we all at least had that baseline in common in some way, right? So when you have that, it's easy to go into kind of weeb subcultures or tech subcultures, stuff like that. Yeah.
You know, I would love to see one day VRChat have their own like anime convention, but it's gonna be a VRChat convention where people like will cosplay as their other OC avatar or whatever. I'm surprised that's not a
Yeah,
thing yet.
yeah.
We'll have like the
I've
events
seen
will
that.
be. I would love to see that. Like the events will be run by
Yeah,
like people from VRChat. You'll see some guy dressed as an e-girl with horns in their head, or a furry or whatever. And just,
yeah,
I, that'd be a
yeah.
pretty cool thing to be a part of.
Yeah, I saw there was a picture, I think it was like two Japanese VR chat users that had both cosplayed as their own avatar, and one of them used a Rusk. So
Oh,
they cosplayed a Rusk, and then for the image they took, they like made it look like they were holding like a cup in like a VR chat like desktop way where like their hand moved like this, and they're like holding a cup out in front of them, and it looked so funny because it was like the real world in VR was finally like starting to combine just because of this person cosplaying. Like it became this sort of like crossover for me. I was like, oh shit, we're getting to that point now.
yeah. Like,
So yeah, I think it's within the realm of possibility. Totally.
yeah. I'm surprised like VRChat just doesn't hold their own version of a convention just where people can go. But even other things like crossovers between VR and real life is like Flirtual or Never Met, like the VR
Yeah.
dating apps that are a thing. They're like
Hmm.
specifically for here. That's a wild thing too.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no experience with those apps, but I know about their existence as far as
Yeah.
that. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting one too, because I know there was a movie that we showed at Enterfest called Ulterior Motives. It's like a pretty popular VR chat film, and it kind of touched on that. It touched on Flirtual and how that's used and what the dating scene looks like, what even ERP at some level looks like in that movie, and it's like really interesting that way, how they showed off the culture of this game indirectly. There were like people leaving in the background and stuff like that, people disappearing, people spawning in, stuff like that. But it was shot in like a very cinematic way that it was really convincing. And it was really cool to see
Yeah.
reflected.
Even so, like some other VR chat films that I know
Hmm.
got out was like We Met in VR. We Met in VR chat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
one, that I saw in a bunch
Hmm.
of news places talking about it. Where going out there and a lot of things like that like will sprout out. People see just a small glimpse of what it's like to be an anime girl falling in love with a Patrick or whatever is going on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because like the human element transcends the avatar so much, and I think that's what's so cool about this. Because I have a friend I've known for years now, and she met her husband through this game, and she's
Really?
like one of those rare cases where, yeah, she grew up in Australia and then moved to Germany
Wow.
to live with her husband that she met in VR chat. And then when I see them, sometimes I'll see them online. They both have their VR set up over there where they live, and then they'll be in separate rooms on VR, cuddling together as if they were in the same room as they always did when they were living abroad from one another. And I was like, that's so cool. They made that happen. They made the 1% of the 1% happen of this game. And I just thought that was super cool. Like I had nothing other to say than, damn, that's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
good for them.
Well, there's a people that Raptor I know that also did that as well. Uh, yeah, it is a really wild thing to see people do that, and it's not very common, but it happens. And things like that kind of make me happy that VR chat exists. Like I remember back when I was in high school, hearing stories about like people doing that from like World of Warcraft. We met in World of Warcraft, and
Yeah.
now we live together and are married. A really good real life friend of mine, Eric, met his wife over in Canada, and then connected over years through dating, through World of Warcraft and things of that nature, and kept the
Yeah.
relationship going
Yeah.
until they finally lived together. And it's at least VR chat. If you meet people here in VR, whether it's VR chat, Horizon Worlds, Neos, Chill Out, you're meeting people with common interests to you. you're almost guaranteed just by being in this platform that you're gonna have some level of commonality with other people, because there's
Oh yeah.
not to like generalize VR chat, but a certain kind of person comes to VR chat. It's not like
Right.
some other random dude who's some sort of like hard ass bodybuilder wants to come to VR chat, unless you're a weeb, you like video games, maybe both.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think there are the rare few that are the hardcore bodybuilders that come to this game, and I'm sure they're out there. You know, if the VR chat bodybuilder community comes out, you know, in response to this video, you know, that's on you. But
Well, the funny thing is, I know a guy that
um,
bodybuilds, and
yeah.
he's like the
Oh yeah.
really big dude. Like when he's out there, like in VR chat, his arms are like this, not because his avatar, but his arms just won't let it come in. He just like this all the time,
Yeah.
looking like that. The Grand Theft Auto meme, that whatever.
Yeah.
He looks
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he's
yeah.
about ready to do that whenever he's standing around. I feel like he started jumping up, and I hear "Take on Me" playing in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm a gigantic person in real life. I always say that, you know, I am literally 6'5" in real life. No one ever believes me because it's the internet, right? So I understand that, right? But
Yeah.
like I'm a super tall person in real life, and the first time I met a friend from VRChat, she couldn't believe how tall I was in person, because I had like shown, you know, I'd shown people pictures to like prove like, yes, I am as tall as I say I am online. You know, they see how tall I am compared to the, you know, a door and shit like that. And then, like, you know, they see me in person, and she's just like looking up at me like, what the fuck? You just got taller and taller as you cross the street. I'm like, I can't control this corporeal form I've been given, you know, like I gotta live with this for the rest of my life, but I can be whatever the fuck I want to be on VR, right? Like I could just do whatever there too. So it's like a very enriching experience, I guess, in that way too.
Indeed. It's kind of wild that how like sometimes people won't look like their avatars, but there are a lot of people who like will drift towards an avatar, even though it doesn't look like them, but still looks like them. It is a weird thing. Like you could be some 6'5" dude, maybe blonde hair, maybe you're jacked, maybe you're skinny, and you choose a certain style of avatar, and you look at them in real life, either on camera or in person. Like holy shit, you're really close to your avatar, and I can't tell you why. That's another wild
Yeah,
thing too.
yeah. There's something about that. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, there's like a way that we kind of associate what people look like based on how they sound or based on how they kind of like appear in this game, and I think it's kind of avatar becomes intrinsically tied to somebody's personality, depending on if they made it or even if they didn't make it and just like selected it. Because I just selected this one. This is one I found on public, and I really like it because I like the glasses on it, and I wear similar glasses in real life. So like I enjoy using this avatar because it kind of has that smidge of my own real self in it while still kind of being different. And I guess being in line with the meta of this game, being an anime girl or a furry, like those are the two big options right now, right? But yeah, like you definitely do see people's personalities come through in their avatar in some weird way, whether it's through like the way they move their arms or like their gestures, head movements, stuff like that. Really comes through, which is just a really weird thing, and how like our brain still sees that as a human, which is so wild.
Well, there is that phenomena where people make objects that aren't human and give them humanistic traits, and that is a really common thing for people to do, where you look for that human element in almost anything. Some people will give, like, for example, cars get names. Really common for people to name their cars. Happens all the time, and having a person look and sound like their avatar is another weird thing. Like I've been described very much so that, like, from people I know through cams or I've seen in real life, I've been told I look like my avatar, and I've seen other people where they look like their avatar, not anywhere in real life. Like Raptor there is not the small grizzled gray and white furry fox avatar, but holy shit, he has features that match it, even though it wasn't a thing that we did this wasn't designed around his looks,
Yeah.
but holy shit,
Yeah.
it's identical, in some weird way. That blows
Yeah.
my mind. Always has.
Yeah, and it's so wild how that ends up working out. And I think like when it comes to stuff like gender too, and like how people identify as like a different gender, or just in general, right? But they might use like a female avatar in game, and it has like, or it might have nothing to do with how they like identify with their own gender and shit like that, or a different identity entirely. And like that was like something I ended up discovering about myself, is that like I identify as non-binary, so I just like I don't really know. I don't really identify with like either the male or female or whatnot. So like I feel like I'm somewhere in between in that whole range of shit. And this game really kind of pulled that out of me. Probably made me gayer too. And like I already identified as bisexual before, but like yeah, it was like, oh shit, like I like understood more about myself through playing this game, which was just, I never expected that. Like at first it was just, I was just talking to people and I used a funny like JoJo's avatar or whatnot. It's just like shit, I'm like a completely different person now than when I first put this on. Like, and, everyone grows and matures, hopefully. But like, I just felt different after playing this. It psychologically changed me.
Yeah, I kind of noticed a similar thing where I became a very different person. Well, not really too different. I became a lot more open with the kind of like humor and stuff. Like I'm the kind of person who is all generally serious. One of the reasons why Raptor's here. I can get really serious a lot of the time where I'm like all work all the time. And I used to be like that always. Like
Yeah.
I could be no fun whatsoever. It's like tunnel, work, that's all I think. Work, put out the stuff, put out the stuff.
Yeah.
Once I hopped
Yeah,
into
yeah.
VRchat, it's like my entire humor started coming out more. I'm a lot less like now. Never expected
Yeah.
that. I've even had people in the real world, I know in real life, like, you don't seem like the same person. Like, what's going on? It's the weirdest. It's a cool thing about VRchat is people find themselves so often here. You'll come in some like big buff dude who's straight as shit, and next thing you know, you're a furry now who's a little fabulous.
Yeah, exactly. Like I definitely, I don't think this game makes people gay, but it makes people discover that they're gay, or they makes people a little bit gayer. And I always found that so funny. Like I always joke about that with friends. I'm like, I always say that to them, but like, yeah, I put on that toaster and it made me gay, like it made me definitely gayer. So I always joke about that. I just blame that damn toaster. I don't know why I'm pansexual. Like shit.
Well, it's one of the things about places like VRchat or like any place in general where you spend most of your time. You'll tend to adopt traits of those people around you, whether it's intentional or
Oh, yeah.
not. Like if you spend a lot of time with gamers, if you're not a gamer, eventually you're gonna play games. It's just it happens. If you
Yeah.
you could be some big buff bodybuilder guy like one of the people I know, spend enough time with a bunch of gamers. Guess what you're doing now? You're gaming. Even though you'd much rather be at the gym
Yeah.
for 4 hours.
Yeah. It's so interesting too, because yeah, like so many of my friends have gotten me into games I probably wouldn't have played normally and stuff like that too. Just being in this game, because a lot of times now that I'm like getting into like longer term friendships and relationships with people on this game, it's just like, oh shit, I'm getting more of their interests into my interests as well. So now we're crossing over, as far as our personalities, and like it's like that natural human progression of that stuff, even though we're in this virtual space. And that has to be one of the biggest like challenges for me to describe this space to people, is like how you meet people and how you feel like you are in the same room with them. And then you take your headset off, it's like, oh shit, I'm in my office, or oh shit, I'm in my bedroom, or whatever, right? And like how crazy that can be, and like how much it has changed me. People don't always see that initially, or like they don't really fully understand it. And like Usually when I explain to them for more than an hour and they're tired of me talking to them, I'll be like, oh, okay, I guess I get it now.
I have a question
So,
for you. When you first started
yeah.
and VR chat, and you're like just started getting into it, did you have that weird sensation sometimes where you look at your own hands and you thought, "Are those really my hands?" Because that happened to me a lot personally,
Yes.
where I was like, "I'm in my avatar." Maybe I think at the time that started kicking worse was when I was like a furry, and I would look at my hands and like, "This doesn't feel right. I can't tell." Why, but it doesn't feel right,
Yeah,
and I'd
whose hands
catch
are
my
these?
exactly. I was like, I'd be like work something, and I'd just see me staring, doing my head, doing this, like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes like I've lucid dreamed since I was a kid.
Mm,
So like a lot of times like my grounding technique, as they call it in that kind of community, is where you'll look down at your own hands and you know what your hands look like in real life. That's like probably one of the things you look at the most is your own hands.
mm,
So you see the back of your hands like constantly, right? And so a lot of times when people dream and they look at their hands, if they've been doing this kind of exercise where they look at their hands to just kind of ground themselves, they'll see that their hands have multiple fingers in a dream that weren't there before. And, you know, you might have like webbed fingers and stuff like that. So when I started playing VR and I looked down at my hands, it was like, oh shit, now I have like this secondary, like self-actualization and realization that I didn't have before. So now like I can be within like a dream and then be in VR in that dream and then look down at my hands and I'm like, oh shit, now I'm really fucked up. Now I'm like 2 layers deep in this. And I'm like, fuck, where's the dream end and the VR begins and whatnot? And the other time that happened that was like really shocking to me was the one time I fell asleep in this game. I was watching like I think we were watching the Evangelion actually, the anime, and I had fallen asleep because it was 3 in the morning, so it was like normal reason to fall asleep. I was
yep.
just dead tired. I'd been talking for hours on this game, classic, and I fall asleep for maybe like a couple minutes. Wake up, and I felt like my brain was getting ripped out of my body. I was like, where the fuck am I right now? And I was like, oh shit, I have controllers in my hand. What the fuck? And then I like looked down at my hands. I was like, oh shit. Oh guys, I gotta go to bed. Fuck. And I just like took my headset off. I was like, that felt awful. And I know people that sleep in this game super commonly. I'm like, fuck, man. Like I've wanted to go back and sleep in VR, but I'm just like, what's that feeling gonna be like again? What's it gonna be like to feel like
Mm.
I'm still halfway in a dream right now. So I love that aspect of this game of like, oh shit, I'm too immersed.
I had that exact same thing happening once. I was watching a movie with this one. I don't remember the movie, and I passed out. It's like maybe 20 minutes, and I woke up and we're in Ellis
Yeah.
Media, and I'm looking at the TV. It's like, this isn't my room. This isn't my house. Am I dreaming? I lift the headset, and the whole thing did like, wait, hold the fuck on a second. And it took me a solid like couple minutes to re-register that I have a headset on my face, and this is VR chat. I passed out here. It is the weirdest feeling to wake up to, and I'm not a fan of sleeping in here. Nope, won't do it.
No, yeah, that's totally fair. I think that's totally fair because knowing what I know from my own experience, yeah, I feel kind of the same way. Plus, I don't know how easy it would be to sleep with the index on. Like, there's the notch in the knob in the back here, and I'd have to get like a really custom way of setting that up. And I don't know, I'm worried about like my controllers turning off and stuff like that too when I wake up. And
Mm,
I don't know. I just I don't think it's for me personally, but I'm interested in the future when we get smaller headsets, smaller form factor headsets, or BCIs really at that point.
mm,
What that's going to be like. Are we going to go into like a comatose state to play VR or something like that? Are we going to be able to use our BCI to kind of put us in this sleep-like, dream-like state to use VR? Is it going to access that part of our brain? And I'm like,
mm.
shit, I have no idea. I did not major in biotechnology, so like I have absolutely no idea how that shit works.
I hope before stuff
Or how
like
it will
that
work.
works, we at least do some more research into it and prepare ourselves, unlike Facebook and social media of like the cell phone age, or at least before we jump into
Yeah.
this, and we won't get like blindsided by some weird PTSD or mental disorder that slaps us upside the face in the future because of VR.
Yeah.
I personally am excited to see all of that. Headsets get smaller. Maybe we're in augmented reality headsets where the real world and the digital
Yeah.
world just kind of have an overlay to each other. Maybe it's BCIs where
Yeah.
like Sword Online where you pass out and have some dream induced state. Whatever it is, I want to see it. I just want to see us prepare ourselves for it.
Yeah.
Because if you're like in a dream induced state for extended periods of time, something I found out with a knee surgery I had, your muscles will start like deteriorating if you don't use them enough. If you like or hop in that like comatose BCI VR state, you may wake up and you're skinny, and or your muscles don't
Yeah,
work the way
yeah.
it should, whatever that may be.
Yeah, you have like full atrophy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that was
Yeah.
that was one of the, when I see BCIs and Sword Art Online, that's where my brain goes, because when I was doing my knee surgery, I got I tore my ACL when I was in high school, and I was a year where you can't move, your legs just straight up straight for an extended periods of time, and I was the kid who would carry my entire locker in my backpack, so my legs, they were fridges, and I was watching. By the time I finished, this leg is just jello. Wood to jello afterwards.
Yeah.
So if you're like in a headset for a month at a time playing VRChat 3.0 or whatever it is, I do hope some people hop out and get some exercise. Or you may wake up one
Yeah.
day from a 1 year sleep and just collapse on the ground because you can't hold yourself up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it'll be like Kill Bill or something like that, where she's like crawling out of the bed, like trying to wiggle her big toe, to get out of that kind
Yeah.
of comatose state and whatnot. Yeah, I wonder if we'll get, like they have those little pedal sets you can get for sitting in a chair all day, so you keep your legs active and stuff like that. We might need something like that. Put myself in like the exercise matrix machine, and it'll like vibrate my body at a frequency to keep my muscles or something like that. Just imagining like a really futuristic pod or something like that keeps my muscles going. Or I have no idea how that would work. Electrostimulation or something like that. I have absolutely no clue.
There was a few
But
times
I'm interested
that's
that's an interesting idea.
That's just one of the things my brain goes to first for some reason is, are we preparing ourselves for the day one day you'll wake up and you will no longer be a rusk or a furry, and you'll try and get up out of bed, and then you'll need a life alert because you can't get up anymore.
Yeah. Are we gonna have like long-term VR care players, like how we have kind of nursing homes for old people? We're gonna have like the gaming homes for like the super VR chat addicted or whatever metaverse addicted people that are like lowest rent possible, just so they can play the game, and they're eating like a nutrient paste through their arm or something like that. I'm just imagining something along those lines, because like damn, you would really need all the time care. And I think that's one of the things I always wondered about with like Sword Art Online, where they're like comatose for like a year or two or whatever it is in that show, because like who's feeding them nutrients? Are they going to the bathroom? Like what's going on? Does that just all stop? Because shit, they didn't explain that in the lore. They don't have the gamer diaper, like the gamer feeding tube or whatever, right? Like
No.
damn.
Yeah, they would have at least shit themselves and died of starvation before any of those events happened.
Yeah.
Unless they got that family member with like some IV drip with forced nutrients rammed into their veins.
Yeah, it's like, here you go, buddy, have a good meal. And they just go back downstairs. It's like, damn, I wonder when he's going to stop playing that fucking game. He's been on there for 2 months. What the fuck?
The funny thing is, one day in the future, we'll have those commercial other lines of, do you or someone you know, have you lost a loved one to BCI4? You too can join in a lawsuit against this company. And you'll show like some sad pictures, some atrophied kid in a pod.
Yeah, it looks like Mr. House from Fallout New Vegas. Like, just like all like crusty and
Quit it,
God,
Mom.
yeah,
I want to be in
that's a
the
fun
virtual
future.
world now.
Have you ever thought about leaving your corporeal form? That's what I imagine commercials will be like in the year like 2100. It's like we're just fully transhumanist,
Well, the crazy thing is,
going into robot bodies.
I don't think you'll be that far ahead. 20 years maybe?
Yeah,
20, 30 years?
yeah,
Like, I don't, like, it won't be like you rip your consciousness out. You'll be more like your brain's in a jar. Or something under
yeah.
those lines, or you just know that some nurse is keeping your body alive with nutrient paste, and you're just hooked up to a machine forever. And there'll be a lot of people who
I
gladly
welcome it. I
just
want to.
just go.
I would love to be in a RoboCop body. Like I would absolutely love to be in that state. Like maybe I'd want to eat food, and maybe I could get like the stomach upgrade or whatever, right? To like allow me to eat food again or whatever. But like I'm very interested in that aspect of like not really dehumanizing, but going like transhumanist sort of ideas there, where you're going outside of the corporeal form entirely, getting into like a digital body or something like that too. I'm very interested in like what that's going to look like in the next like 30 to 40 years, because tech is moving exponentially, and I think we forget that.
Especially with
like it doesn't move linearly.
no, especially with things like the internet and how like crowdsourcing and social media. One person throws out ideas, I have a problem, and then some other person across the planet's already solved the problem, and then exponentially things just repeatedly go forward. One day, like for example, look at our lifetimes. When I was a kid, we had Nokia brick phones. Now I got some credit card sized thing that's more powerful than the computers I grew up with. It's nuts how fast it is. In another 20 years, we may not have phones anymore. TVs may not be a thing. We may have headsets, augmented reality. Who knows? It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, cause shit, I think about like camera technology and how far that has come like in the past 10 years. Cause I got a DSLR for graduation, and I graduated high school in like 2014. And so I had a camera that was from like 2012 or 2013. And I thought it was like, oh, it's really high resolution, crazy shot, right? And it's like, I think it was like 20 megapixels or something. So pretty good. But then now I have a phone that I bought for like $300. So it's like a third of the price of what I paid for that DSLR camera. And it takes better pictures. It's 108 megapixels. Like blown up, the pictures look better, if not like more crisp. Like it's crazy. And now I just have that on my phone. So like this time so it's my second time going to Japan. First time I had brought my DSLR and took a bunch of pictures there. But now this time I'm not going to bring any camera. I'm just going to bring my phone. It's that much better now. And it just changed in that amount of time. And I'm like blown away by that. And of course now the camera technology at the high end is even crazier, but I just like, I'm at a point where I'm like, oh, I don't really want to buy that now because my phone just does that. And it's nuts. Like everything's being consolidated into a phone or a computer.
The crazy thing is, I'd say maybe 5-10 years, phones won't be a thing. You'll have yourselves Quest AR glasses or whatever they are.
Yeah.
And it'll do the exact same thing. Like one of the crazy things I read about for cool tech in the VR AR world is like a really large contact the size of your eyeball. And you just slide it in. And you'll look and you'll select things by looking. It looks like the way you'll see is like having a Fallout HUD. The green HUD or solid color HUD of some sort, and I'll look at you in real life, and your little social media bubble will pop up, and I look at your profile, and I'll pull it up. It was the wildest thing to see, and even then, between then and now, you got the old people who used to work in Meta, and they got some crazy-ass augmented reality sort of phone thing where you just look at your hand and the exact same thing. You won't have to have a contact. It's just all digital overlaid. Just in a year. Just a year passed by, and that's a thing.
Yeah. And I've seen some of those displays going on to like contacts and stuff like that, like the micro displays. And I just think that shit's so cool because I think if I had a choice to be able to be connected, like in that way, I guess, like, and view through like an external kind of extra digital vision, I think it could be really helpful for shit, especially like, maybe you're internet connected or not, but if you're like out in the middle of nowhere and say you like look down at a plant and it's like, what is this? What kind of plant is this? Are the berries edible? And you could like have something scan what that is in the world around you, because we already have stuff like Google Lens, right? Where it's identifying images from just raw image capture, or identifying objects from image capture, I should say, and language too. And I just find that so wild. I wonder, when we have that available, what are we going to use that for? And like, how is it going to be used? How's it going to be abused? And how is it going to change over time, I guess. So, yeah.
I see ads being everywhere.
Wild times.
Instead of like,
I know.
be like,
That's the other thing.
be like, look at the VRChat worlds and how you like hop in now and you'll see like 100 different like picture ads of stuff. Be like that, but in the real world, you'll see like the Apple thing will be a billboard over there. Then you'll see Google over there. Then you'll see some other thing over there.
Yeah.
Just everywhere. It'll be like a pop-up screen, but in real life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the opposite of the they live glasses. You put the glasses on and you get the ads, instead of where you take the glasses off and you see the whatever's normal around you, or what you think is normal. It's like you put them on, it's like, oh shit, there's more ads in here. God damn it.
I remember when this technology started,
Yeah.
I got to read messages from the locals, and I have to watch Google and Apple fight for a spot.
Yeah,
Their billboards are on
exactly.
top of each other
Yeah.
now.
It's like my HUD is buffering because there's so many ads trying to load right now, because I don't have the newest version of AdBlock, installed on my my virtual screen.
Yeah. The funny thing is now, I also think about is how with that future, I don't see privacy being a thing. Like even with that, like augmented reality contact or whatever, people just be able to look at you and your entire life will be there on display, and you'll have no idea they're looking at you. Someone you don't know on the bus will have
Yeah.
your entire life story just there.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy what we're going to be able to do with it, and I both fear and welcome it. So it's definitely a mix of both for me, but I also think like that tech will help so many people as long as it's used in a proper way, in a way that actually benefits people rather than benefiting ad space.
One thing I also hope is I hope the people of the future read terms of service. That's something we know to now.
Yeah, it's so important. I don't read it, but I know it's important to read it. Like,
I know.
I don't read it mainly because I'm forced into using a lot of these technologies. So it's
Yeah.
like, I don't really have a choice, unfortunately.
Well, for example, the Facebook system, it learns so much about you that it will like know what your eating patterns are. It'll know when you go to the bathroom, and it'll the optimal time to show you an ad. You'll be on the shitter, and maybe you use the phone whenever
Yeah.
you're there, and it'll know this time of day is when this person's usually in the bathroom. Show him the ad for this thing then. He's been looking at these things in Facebook and Google, so therefore he would want cat food, or he wants VR. So we got to show him these ads at these times, and it's not because you necessarily talked about those things, but generally it just knows. The AI algorithm just put together, you look at this that like this profile, therefore this lady's pregnant and her husband needs some medication. Let's show them the ads for child serv or some child baby services and baby clothes and medication, and I'll show you just by learning.
Yeah.
And then the future with augmented reality
Yeah.
will be like all of those companies into your life. They'll be able to watch you piss.
Yeah, they're gonna see so much. They're gonna see so much data they won't even know what to do with it, and they'll find new ways to manipulate it. And I worry about that, but it's also like, what am I going to do to change that? Am I going to be the one person that takes down all those corporations? What? No,
Yeah.
absolutely not. I could never be that. Some like edgy kind of vindictive part of me wants that to be like some sort of like anti-corporation Batman, but that's never going to fucking happen. Like, I have no way of doing that. Like,
Well, the funny thing is the most rebellious thing now with corporations and AI and phones is just know how to live off the land. And it is such a basic thing to think about, but how many people nowadays know how to like tell what plants will kill you and what plants won't? and then a future where augmented reality and
Yeah.
tech is so ingrained in your life, people will probably have no idea how to live outside of it. Like take off the headset
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
be just a normal person with normal people things. It'll be such a foreign concept.
Yeah, because I mean, think about now, like, how do we live without access to the internet in some ways? Like, in some ways, not in all ways. I'd say, like, I love being disconnected from it, going out into nature when I can, you know? But yeah, like, having all the information of the world and research of the world at your fingertips at any time is, like, something we take for granted every single day
Mm.
when we're scrolling through whatever we're looking at, right? And, yeah, I'd love to see us using tech in a way that like benefits us and benefits society in general, rather than just like this constant like depression machine we seem to find ourselves with social media and stuff like that.
Yeah, I do agree with you. We have so much information at our fingertips. We can make colleges obsolete by self-discovery and study, but instead we use it to ERP with each other across the planet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe that itself is educational and enlightening in a different way. They don't
Hey,
teach you that in sociology.
I may like this certain cartoon character a little more than I should. Maybe I should hop out of VR
Yeah.
now.
Maybe I can research why I like this and do a little psychology on myself here. Yeah.
Nah, let's do it more. That's what a lot of people do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Although that is what speaking of the education, there is I didn't remember reading a Japanese there's like a Japanese learning school, college of sorts, VRC
Yes.
Academy springing up. And that just seems
Mhm.
awesome and fascinating to me that people are doing that.
Yeah. I've been there actually.
Oh, really?
It's like the JPEN language exchange world is really really cool. Because you actually get an interface above your head that tells people like how good you are at each respective language. So this one's English to Japanese or Japanese to English. So you can click a button that says like, are you out of 4? How good are you at Japanese? And it'll give you like a full circle if you're completely fluent, and then like it'll give you a half circle if you're like somewhat fluent in English or something like that, and then vice versa, of course. But I found that really interesting because you could gauge like how much Japanese or how much English to use based on what that person's proficiency was, and then like it was such a good learning tool. And I knew so many people that were learning that way, and it was such a better way to learn than in classroom. Because like I love learning languages. It's kind of like a I guess like a tertiary hobby for me. I have ADHD. I got a million hobbies. It just happens. But like I really enjoyed language like in school and stuff like that, but I felt like it was very limited because once I got out into the world speaking to people, it was like a completely different monster. And that's actually where I flourished, was speaking to other people. And that's how I ended up learning Japanese over time, like very, very slowly. But what I learned is like super useful for now when I go back to Japan here in a couple months or a few months here. And yeah, I love that I've benefited from this game because of that, and I love that I've benefited from learning a language in a way that makes sense for me. So yeah,
That is that is an amazing thing, a side effect of VRChat existing, is the ability to learn things like skills or languages in such a way that's beneficial to you that I don't think probably VRChat expected to be a thing. VRC Academy and be able to learn
Yeah, not at all.
Japanese with traditional, like native speaking Japanese people who knew. I don't know why the VRChat initially sprung up, but it's a thing now. You can do it here. You can learn
Yeah.
Finnish with Finnish people. You can learn German with German people.
yeah,
You can learn French with French people. And you can do all for the comfort of your own bedroom.
yeah, exactly. Because I know a lot of people that have learned other languages that way, and it works so much better because you get like the language immersion aspect because you're in this sort of quasi physical space with one another. And like when you have that, when you have gestures, when you have stuff around you, when you have context around you, you can start to explain that world in another language, or somebody else can explain it you gain that context immediately to that word, and you gain kind of a visual understanding from that as well as what they're saying to you. And it's like, oh shit, we figured it out, like shit, we just need more of that. If people want to learn a language, go into VRChat. Like that's what I would say. Like when people are like, oh, I'm gonna learn this language on Duolingo, I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Go into VRChat too. Like, trust me. They're like, I don't know about that. I'm like, all right, well, guess I lost you, but all right, have fun with that.
It's one of those things where it'd be a lot easier to learn it with speaking with people naturally. And are you ever going to go to Japan to learn Japanese? Probably not. Who's got thousands of dollars to throw in plane tickets that regularly?
Yeah.
But you can spend that $1,000 on a headset, hop in a VR chat, and just speak with people from the area. It's easy as turning on your computer.
Yeah. And I think people don't always realize like what this tech has, or what VRChat in general has as a space to offer, because it's so varied that there's got to be like several hundred like YouTube documentaries on this stuff that you got to watch through to fully understand like the scope of how big this game really is, and how varied it is. I guess it's a better word to put it. Just extremely varied on what's out there. But yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to spread that a lot more. And I will say I'm going to cut the video here. Is there anything you'd like to
Alrighty. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitch. I stream very irregularly, but when I do, I have fun. My Twitch username is Reth Sogen VT, all one word. My YouTube is Reth Sogen VR. I don't know why I switched between VT and VR, but yeah, I usually do VTubing on Twitch. But yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You being here.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
You have any closing thoughts, Raptor?
I appreciate you being. No.
No.
With me bouncing in and out, I don't even know what half the conversation you guys have talked about. So.
Well,
I'm in the dark, so.
thanks for joining us, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully you can learn some stuff too. Later.